I brought in a couple just different things. I brought in the wood burner set that I use, and there's lots of different ones. This one's really quite old. It's Caldwell. And it's just got a dial from 0 to 10 temperature, and that part works really well. The disadvantage of this type is that the pins are fairly expensive, and the inserts that go in them kind of look like that. In other words, you buy the wire part and the part that hooks to this, it's all one unit, and they're 15, 20 bucks a piece. I noticed that Jared's is just a wire, and he's got a whole little tub full of inserts or tips, probably paid by the same price. So his is much more versatile, but this one works fine. So anybody wants to look at the differences, you're welcome to just browse here. Curiosity, Jared, what'd you pay for this unit, you know?
I think I got it on sale for like 30 some odd dollars.
What? 30?
Like I said, it was on sale. But
Holy
we
crap.
just looked up for the same company off Amazon. They're going for between like 40 to 60.
Wow. That's incredible. I paid 130 for that.
I think the
That's great.
I think the difference is because it's just actual wire tips versus
Maybe, but I like that better. Yeah. Well, great. That's good to know. And then he showed me these. I don't know if anybody else saw those, but that's all. Where am I at? Okay. Yeah. Hey, see. Yeah. So that's all the different tips he got with his. That's amazing. And that's I don't even know how you pronounce that.
I think it's like
Yahoo or something.
Yeah, it's
Yahoo.
YIHUA.
Yeah.
It's a Chinese brand.
Okay.
How long have you had that?
Oh, maybe almost 2 years now.
So, I mean, it's not like it must be a halfway decent one. It's not, you haven't had problems with it burning up or
Not yet.
having tips.
Knock on wood, not yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got several different types of models. Some of them come with like 2 burners, I guess. The one that was just like this one was just a little bit bigger than it, and it had 2 dials.
Yeah.
I can explain a little better. So, yeah, the one that one there's just got the 1 dial that can go up to 950 degrees Celsius. But the other one that was just like the same model was a little bigger, had 2 dials and 2 burners on it. And because of the different tips, if you wanted to, you could even use it for electronics for like soldering. Not that I'm going to do that.
Well, that's kind of the way those tips are kind of makes me think of soldering iron.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's very much a similar process, really, especially since it can get as hot as you would need for soldering.
The other thing I wanted to talk about is a little bit of, I use vacuum chuck a lot for bowls, bowl bottoms, and we have one here, but I'm not sure if anybody's put it together as far as the gauge and the switch and But I'm quite sure we bought one for the club. I think it's probably in the room back there. But anyway, you can make these inserts to hold your bowls, different sizes. It's just PVC couplings. Yeah. That is, I forget what you call that, but you buy it at a hobby shop. I don't know, Steve, do you know what that rubber stuff is? I know it was, you introduced it once in your class, but I can't remember what it's called. But it comes in 8 by 11 sheets.
I've used funny foam, bought it at
Yeah.
Hobby Lobby. You can get it different thicknesses there. But
Yeah. And
cut
that
it.
works really well, protects your piece really well. And it seals really well. I've got my vacuum chuck hooked in another room so I don't have to listen to it. And then I've got the switch in the ceiling, and a vacuum gauge there so I can ensure there's enough suction to hold it. And then there's also a release valve. If you have a piece that's fragile, you can suck it inside out if you put too much pressure on it or too much suction. Not really. I think the one I've got, the maximum, like if I just plug it, it'll go up to, I don't know, 20, 28. I'm not sure what that is, inches of vacuum.
How does that PVC attach to that?
Epoxy.
Oh, okay.
I made the wooden piece, I made a little insert in there, put epoxy in there, and shove it in, and then once that's hardened, then take a skew and true the outside edge, and then cover it. And I've got,
It's essentially something to keep back.
yeah. So you got this. You hook this hook to the vacuum, and they'll suck through there. And that turns. This turns independent of this. There's a bearing in there. So when you got, say, a bowl, you got it all done except for the foot. You can put that on there and bring your tailstock up and center it, and then have your tool rest out here loose, and turn the thing, and it'll tell you if you're out of round or if you got it off center a little bit. So then you adjust it and get that to where it's centered. Then throw your suction on, and then you can turn that off, make it concave, put some design rings or whatever you want to on there, and it'll hold it. Let's see. While I've got it up there and I've got it turned off, I might cut a couple grooves where I'm going to inscribe it, and then inside of that, I'll make a couple faint pencil lines to guide my extremes of the letters. So it helps to get the letters all the same height, and makes a really big difference. I heard Teresa mention earlier this evening that you get one letter out of whack and it really shows up. So it really helps to get them all the same size and consistent around there. By the way, we had a guy come from Chicago, Bob Leonard, and you'll see him at symposiums as well. I think he's still around, but he was selling the vacuum units and then instructions on how to put pieces together, and he included several things, but they work well. They're originally medical vacuums or pressure, and they're designed to run 24/7, so good units.
He can't get those vacuum pumps anymore. He used to get them from a hospital or something, but they quit selling them to him.
Oh, okay.
And he buys another pump, though, that works as well and sells it now, but that Frugal, I think his last name was,
Yeah.
or something. And
Yep.
He, that's the first one I ever had, and it worked really well.
Okay.
But
Steve? There you go. Anybody wants one, see Steve. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Anybody wants to see the instructions on how to put one together, they're here. For hollow vessels, people do it different ways. They'll put it on a post, and after you get that, cut off, you can sand it or grind it and get your, make it look pretty nice. I built a little jig to hold them. Like this piece fits on the chuck. It's got rings on it to where you can find center, and then the other piece has it's tapered to so you don't dent your finished vessel, and you put that on there, and then I've got different length rods that will hold that together. You adjust them and get this running true, and it's on the piece, and then I run a steady rest on here. So then I've got good support to turn whatever I want onto the bottom, whether it be beads or just, it's a lot of extra work, but I kind of like doing it that way, but not for everybody. I bought a bunch of threaded rods so that I can accommodate any length vessel I want. I think that's about all I had, just different ways of holding things to do the bottoms. Any questions? Comments?
I used to sign all my pieces with a wood burner. I thought it gave it a personal touch, but wood burners are kind of tricky, especially if you have real open grain. Unless you have a real steady hand, you get to the open spots and you get a little dot here, or doesn't quite burn the same here. So eventually I decided to go ahead and get a laser to go ahead and sign my pieces. So these are some of the things you can do with it. I've only had it a few months, but I really like it. The program, let me see what we got here. The program that comes with the laser, it's a lot like using Photoshop or something like that. You can change the size of something. It has many, many different fonts on it. So you can, let's see if we can turn that. You can have something that's a straight line like this, but if you have something small or round, you can, with the program, you can put a curve into your name like this second one here. You can put a circle around it, or the program comes with a lot of different pictures. So this is a maple leaf. You could do a maple leaf and then put your name and the date and whatever inside of it. This, turn that upside down. This tree is another thing that came on the program, and I kind of liked that. It gave it a nice logo kind of look, but I didn't think it was personal. You know, I didn't feel like it was personal enough. So I happened to looked up the road. Oh, yeah, you can see that pretty well. That's scrap. Whew. Up the road from my house, there's a tree. So I took a picture of it. Well, then Photoshop, I had to get rid of power lines and street signs, and it had some bushes underneath it and everything else. But I finally ended up with this picture that I'm happy with. And the way the tree overhung, I could put my name, start my name underneath it. So that's probably how I'll be doing most of my signatures now. It's fun to play with that if you like playing with the programs and Photoshop and that kind of thing. You do have to do a fair amount of trial and error to get it to burn right, and several different times you might have to adjust this or that. And if worse comes to worse, this isn't so deep that you can't sand it out if it really didn't do what you wanted it to do.
Is it just like trial and error, like different types of wood burn different? So like, say you got a finished piece, is it just over a time of doing different types of wood that you learn, I need to be burning a little bit more on this kind than this kind?
The program has a lot of different, it's set up for people that do crafts and do craft shows and things. So it has a lot of different choices that you can pick. Walnut plywood, it calls it plywood, or ash, or hickory, or I forget. So
it does give you an option of different types of
yeah.
woods.
So you can pick something you think is close, but then you still need to, because even a piece of walnut can have several different shades in it. So you still have to adjust different things. You adjust the dots per inch and how fast it cuts so that it burns deeper or burns longer, that kind of stuff. But like I said, it's kind of fun to play with, and you just have to take your time and just work with it. What's that? How big is it? The laser is, it'll burn a 4x4 inch square. It's about this tall. It has a motor that adjusts it up and down to focus. You can take the center out of it so that you can actually set it up on some, and it will focus down below the actual, a little bit below the actual platform, so that you can prop it up on something if something's too tall or something, you know, you mess around with it. Yeah, yep. And you can do, you can get it pretty small. And again, to put a circle around it. That is actually if you can see it, is actually my signature. I did do my signature, and I could do that, but I can't do things like curving it around, because that's only available with the fonts that are in the program. It will do a curved surface, and I was surprised. I thought it might be out of focus with the curve, but it did a pretty good job there. I guess that's about it. Any other questions? Dale, did you have a question?
Used to, but
you know, I've got a laser and I used to do that a lot, but the problem that I ran into is my pieces got too big. I couldn't get them in there. So that,
Well, like I said, it's got a 4x4 plate. So like I said, if I had a bowl that was, or a vessel that was about this tall, so I actually took a plastic crate and cut the sides out, and so I could set the laser up on it and put the bowl or the vessel underneath and prop it up with different thicknesses of wood to get to where I could focus and that kind of thing. So far it's worked. There will be times when something's going to be too big probably, but I'm happy with what I've got so far. I bought it through Woodcraft. And I was looking for quite a while and not ready to pull the trigger on what you see online. But when Woodcraft came out with it, I thought, well, that's probably a little better chance that you won't get something that you can't, you know, you can at least got someone to go back and complain to, if nothing else. So,
How much did it run?
just the laser, I don't remember exactly. You can get with it. You can get a unit that will turn a round object like this, so that you can do your lasering around it, and that's a separate piece that you buy. And it also has if you want to do something that's 4 inches wide and this long, it's got another piece, you know, that you can buy that will run this through so that you can do a sign that's fairly long, as long as you want. So that all, and you can buy a smoke filter that'll suck the smoke off of there. So I bought that too. So all in all, it was around $2,000, a little less than $2,000. I think just the laser unit was maybe $700 or $800. Don't quote me.
I was going to say, I was hearing the cash register just ringing as you were speaking.
Yeah. But you can buy different pieces, so you can kind of, you don't smell the smoke very much. It has a guard that comes down around your piece that it's a green that's supposed to protect your eyes, number one, and it also contains the smoke, unless you can't put the guard all the way down. And then I have glasses that protect your eyes from that. But like I said, you can buy it piece by piece. But I figured, who knows if you can get the same stuff later to add on. So I went ahead and got it all at once. Any other questions? I've got a laptop that I use for a computer for it, but the program is one that is done by Xtool, the company that made the unit.
It's special for your machine then?
And you download it for free off the internet,
Yeah.
so you don't pay for the program.
Well, so
That's one
that makes it
thing.
a little cheaper that way.
That's
then.
one thing, yeah.
So, okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, I am having fun with it. Yep.
First of all, let me say, as far as the laser is concerned, I have one that I spent, I think, a little less than $200 on. And if you're just going to engrave wood with it, you can buy them for as little as around $100. The one Teresa's got is a lot more powerful and will do a lot more than that. And Lightburn software, as has been mentioned, is a really excellent program to use with most of those lasers. It's an easy program to learn. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with that too. And another thing that nobody's mentioned yet, Joe and I sign our pieces by using a printout that comes out of a laser printer. So if you have a Hewlett-Packard laser printer, inkjet won't work. But basically what happens with a laser printer is you're using powdered plastic, and the powdered plastic is fused onto the paper. And if you turn the paper upside down and put it down on the surface and put something like acetone on the backside, that will melt some of that plastic and it will deposit onto whatever surface you're using. That's how we sign our pieces. So we have our signatures, of course, copied into the computer, and we inverse those. In practically any drawing program that you've got will have inverse or invert or reverse. It depends on what program you have, what the name is, but basically you're just making it backwards. And then when you turn it face down, of course, what you're looking at on the backside is correct then. So we just print that out on a sheet of paper that has maybe 100 of our little Steve and Joe signature things on it in different sizes. And depending on what size of vessel we have, we just cut out the appropriate one, place it face down on there. I think we're using Xylol. If you go to the art supply store and get one of those, look at their marker, their big markers that come in 100 or 200 or 300 different colors, you'll find what they call a colorless blender in there. And that basically is Xylol. Be careful, because some of them, depending on what they're using as a base, some of them are alcohol. That will not work. You need to be sure it's the kind that has acetone or Xylol, or you can just go to the hardware store and buy a can of it. And you got to be careful you don't put too much on. If you get a little bit too much of that Xylol, it'll melt so much of it that you just get a runny, blotchy thing. So you learn by applying it gently. Lay it on the surface of any piece of wood in practice before you put it on a vessel. Ben Foe used to use that technique a lot to lay out patterns on his vessels before he would pierce them. So you look at all his stuff and you think maybe he was doing all those dragonflies and dragons and all the rest of the things he was doing freehand. No, those were patterns that he had that he printed and transferred in that method, and then he would go ahead and pierce. That doesn't penetrate very far, so it's easy if you want to, if you put that on a vessel and want to use it as a design to pierce or something like that, you can take it off by sanding it. Doesn't go down into the wood, unless you use too much Xylol. So that's one technique that's really easy to use, and you can do that with anything that you can run through a printer. Just got to be sure you have the right kind of printer. We have to.
When you have your finish on your vessel you're talking about,
Yeah.
the acetone don't affect the finish of your...
We do it on the bottoms of the vessels. So our procedure would be, I don't know what I could use as an example. Let's say if this were a vessel and this was the part that we're going to keep right here. We always have a foot on that that'll go into the chuck until this vessel is completely finished. It's all done. The last thing we do is park this off down here. Now it's bare wood.
Okay.
So you put that on there and bare wood. And our philosophy about that is we don't put gloss, we use gloss finishes on our pieces, but we don't put gloss finish on the bottom, because when you take a vessel and set it around and move it around a few times, if you have a gloss finish on the bottom, that's going to be looking like crap pretty damn quickly. If you just put that urethane on there, soak it into the wood and wipe off all the excess, it's going to leave you a matte finish that's practically never going to look bad, no matter how much you move it around and things that you set it on. So that's why we do that way. So putting that signature on there first, and then putting the finish on and wiping it off is a process.
So you put it on the bare wood and then put your
Yeah,
finish over
Yeah.
there. Gotcha.
yeah. How I do my own is completely different. I have 3 sets of copper stamps, and they have my logo, which is my name that I can't read. Nobody else can either. So I put center in block letters scrawled under that. So that's the logo you see on the tool rest and their tools and everything else on the bottoms of my pieces. Those are branding irons that you can have made if you want. Send your signature off there. Look in the craft magazines and stuff, you'll find the ads. You'll find the places to send those, or search up for it online. And you can have them made. They're not very expensive. You can have them made electric, which are more expensive, or just the ones I get that are simply cut out of a piece of copper and they're brazed onto actually a big old nail, and then a handle is stuck on the other end of that. So the 3 sizes give me the ability to do it on a small piece, a medium piece, or a large piece. Then what I do is mount like Phil was mounting his back in the lathe. The way I mount it in the lathe is that I have a piece of conduit that goes in the chuck, and then on the end of the conduit I can put pads of different sizes depending on the size of the vessel, and I slip the vessel over. Let's say this is the conduit with the pad on the end of it, and imagine a vessel here. Slip the vessel over it. Yeah, so that foot would be on there just like that until we're done. So we go on here like this, and then this, of course, is in the chuck, and then I have a live center with a soft pad that I just bring up against it here. So now this powers it, this turns it, and this holds it in place. That's a small center that holds it against that pad on the inside, and I can do anything I want on the bottom here, which what I do on my pieces is I press 2 lines in that go over my signature, and then I go within those 2 lines. I put some information like the date and my initials, because I haven't signed it as a signature, so my initials take care of that. The date's on there, the kind of wood, and then inside of that, inside of those 2 circles, I put the title of the piece. And below that's above my signature, and below my signature would be the number that I assign to each one of my pieces, serial number. Any questions about those? So I would suggest, we have, does everybody, well, let me ask it this way. Is there anybody here that does not sign their work? Why? I find it really,
I'm waiting for you to give me one of those branding irons so I can start.
you want to put my name on your piece?
Maybe a little bit more money.
It's hard to sign a pen. Yeah, not impossible though. The method that I just mentioned, using the laser, you can make those really tiny. Like I've made some very, very small, super thin pieces, and those are signed on the inside. The writing on that is probably well under 1/8 of an inch tall. So you can be very precise with those and do your signature. You could sign it that way. I get really frustrated. I get pieces that I have in my collection. I pick them up and I can't remember who did this piece. And I turn it over and there's no name, and I don't know. Yeah, I think that's coming. I don't know why either, but this thing's doing that once in a while. So I really, really sign it. Oh gosh, I can look back at pieces I did 50 years ago and I scrawled my signature on there. At least I know it was mine. You know, sometimes I don't want to admit it was mine, but I know it was mine because I got my signature on it and the date.
People, like relatives or something, that ask me
Yeah,
to do it, and
Yeah.
then I might do it. But
yeah,
other than
yeah.
that,
It's a personal work, you know. I don't sign my tools. I don't sign my tool rests and stuff. They have the logo on there for a reason, but I don't sign those because they're not a personal item that I made a one of. What? I do those that, oh, those, are you talking about those? Okay, yeah, I don't sign those. I don't sign those. I tried once, but I just made the bottom black, that's all. They're too small. Y'all, I've been making those for a long time, and I don't know if there's anybody still around that can remember, but it wasn't long after we moved into this building. I think we had a couple of people here that worked at Augustana. Anybody remember that? So they were wise asses. So they took one of those little goblets, they took it to Augustana, and they cut it through the stem, and they mounted it on one little button so they could put it in an electron microscope. And their objective was to count how many fibers were in that stem on that goblet. And I still have that photomicrograph at home. I have it down in the studio, and it doesn't show individual fibers. It just shows a tangle, which is probably why hard maple, you can do that with hard maple, and I don't think you can do it with any other wood. Who's next?